All right, everyone, let's just make sure that I'm live before we get started here. Okay, just 1 second. When I see my face, I know it's a go. All right, there I am. Well, welcome in, everyone. I'm Josie Warren. I am the autoimmune expert. We have a great topic for today. I can't wait to share with you. Before we get started, I want you to know a little bit more about me. I'm the autoimmune expert because I used to have 8 autoimmune diseases and a host of chronic illnesses, conditions like arthritis and lupus, chronic illnesses like chronic pain, ADD. I also had Hashimoto's and MS and CVID. And by the time I came to where I work now, which is a new life center, I was 28 and I was desperate. Years of supplements and food diets and medication that didn't work. And when I came here, it was a new beginning and a rebirth, because what I learned is that the reason everything I was doing wasn't working was because the methods don't really work for those autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. And the real root cause of all my conditions was me, and really my emotional state. That my emotional state was the driving force of the full dysregulation of my body. And when I healed my emotional state here, I healed. And quite honestly, that process happened in just about 3 months. 10 years later, I take no medication, I take no supplements, I see no chiropractors. I eat any foods I want, and I have none of my conditions. I am not in remission. I am permanently healed. And permanent healing of autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses is what we do in our programs, and it's what I teach here on my channel. So thank you for being here. So the topic today is going to be about chronic pain, and the title of today's video is Stop Going to Your Chiropractor: The Truth About Chronic Pain. And first, I want to share a story about myself. When I was growing up in high school, I played lacrosse, and I tweaked my back playing lacrosse, and I had my coach tell me to go to a chiropractor. It was my first experience seeing a chiropractor, and I started seeing him down the road. He, did the rolling tables. He readjusted me. I did some other methods, and the pain, while it got a little bit better, it persisted. And then for the next 14 years, I continue to see this chiropractor. I continue to see this chiropractor for the next 14 years for my chronic pain. It got to the point that I had forgotten over time why I even started seeing him. What was the impetus for me to begin to see him in the first place? Because I just became someone who always needed to be readjusted and always lived with chronic pain in some kind of form. I saw him so much that I even had, this is embarrassing to say, I even had an unlimited membership to my chiropractor. So I could see him as many times as I wanted. And by the time I was about 28 or so, my weeks, I'd see him probably about 3 times a week, in addition to seeing my therapist, getting massages. And the other thing I did a lot was go to the natural food store. It really just became integral into my life. And I never stopped to question why. Why did I have to keep going? Why wasn't my chronic pain that had happened all the way back in high school, why wasn't it going away with his chiropractic treatments? Why wasn't it really working? And why did I have to keep getting adjusted? That I would keep popping out and getting readjusted? Questions I never asked myself. In addition to, if his methods really worked, why would they offer unlimited memberships, right? Good questions. Also, what I later learned, the chiropractor and all specialists never thought to ask what was going on in my life during that time in high school when I tweaked my back. What I later came to understand is what happened right around the time that I started getting chronic pain is my dad passed away when I was 15, and it wasn't long after that chronic pain from tweaking my back, it became chronic and it never went away. So the real source of my chronic pain, it wasn't needing to be adjusted at the chiropractor. It was my emotional pain that was causing that to happen. And when I resolved my emotional pain here where I work, I tell you, I haven't been to a chiropractor since I came here and did this program. But it does lead to a really good question. Why do we see chiropractors, right? So if what they did worked, why would we have to keep going back to it? Why is it prescribed as something more as a lifestyle thing than a solution? Chiropractic work for chronic pain is symptom management, managing the symptoms of the condition, never getting to the true root cause of chronic pain. Again, if chiropractic work really worked, we wouldn't have to keep going. I wouldn't have to keep going for 14 years. So today, the topic is chronic pain. I'd say an epidemic in our world, our society, especially with men. So we're going to start off this video right away with a red pill moment. So if you have chronic pain, and chronic pain is a pain that persists over time, it's ongoing in its very nature. If you have chronic pain, there is a 100% chance it is emotionally based and is not coming from a physical source. This is why all the treatments you have tried for your chronic pain have not worked. And that's exactly why the chiropractic work I did for 14 years never really worked with my chronic pain. Now, chronic pain is a chronic illness. It's a chronic illness. And all autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses, including chronic pain, are called specifically chronic because they have no known cure in Western, alternative, or functional medicine. This is true for the hundreds of autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses that exist. And so because they're considered chronic, the best we can do, according to all of medicine, is do symptom management. And this is true, of course, for Western medicine that focuses on prescription medication, but it's also true for alternative and functional medicine as well. And what's problematic to me about functional alternative medicine is they pretend that they heal. They use the word healing, they throw it out there all of the time. But please be clear, functional alternative medicine with their tinctures and their supplements and their food diets and their IV therapy and their cleanses, that is also not really healing. That is just managing the symptoms of conditions like chronic pain, not the real cause, which we'll talk about later. And also know that they tell us the best we can do is remission. Remission means you still have your chronic illness or still have your autoimmune disease. You are not permanently healed. And it's only a matter of time before emotional stress will throw us out of remission and we have to start the protocols all over again. Because the condition you have is chronic, you will never be healthy using their methods. Healthy is the absence of illness and disease. Healthy is the absence of illness and disease, and healthy, you don't need protocols, supplements, food diets, or regimens to maintain your health. That is true health. So that said, chronic pain, the topic of today, it is the most misunderstood chronic illness by both Western, alternative, and functional medicine. And this is because 100% of all chronic pain comes from an emotional source, not a physical source. So why chronic pain is so misunderstood is because our human minds are so logical, and we really want to associate our chronic pain with a physical part of the body, such as the neck, the joints, the back, the shoulder. We really want to associate it with a physical source, such as a physical injury like I had when I played lacrosse and developed chronic pain. So due to this, the natural direction, unfortunately, that doctors take when we have chronic pain is to deal with that physical part of the body that they mistakenly perceive to be the source of the chronic pain. So it leads us to the question, how can physical pain in the body not come from a physical body part? How can physical pain in the body not come from a physical body part? Well, the truth is that chronic pain always comes from a non-physical source. It is chronic because no surgery, no treatment, no chiropractic work or infusions, for instance, has corrected the problem to alleviate the pain. So all these treatments don't work, so we know that it's not really treating the source. And this is the same with all chronic illnesses and autoimmune disease treatments. They are all ineffective at resolving permanently the condition because the source, the true cause of all chronic illnesses and autoimmune diseases, it is not physical. Now, some examples with chronic pain, the shoulder, the back, the neck, the joints, they are not the problem with chronic pain. Just like the thyroid gland is not really the problem with Hashimoto's. It's an immune system problem. So again, it is a chronic pain because what makes it chronic is that regardless of the treatments or surgeries, it still persists. Because logically, as humans, we should heal with the surgeries or the treatments or the injections, and the pain should permanently go away. So when pain does not go away, the source is always emotional pain, and it is not physical pain. Now, we're going to go into the 3 types of pain. The first type of pain is physical pain. Now, physical pain is caused by physical damage or something being physically done to the body that causes the pain. For example, having a broken bone, like something a physical injury, or tearing a tendon, or having a surgery. The second kind of pain is a disease pain. And this is a pain caused by a disease or disorder of the body, such as fibromyalgia, arthritis, or migraines. Now, the third type of pain is emotional pain. Emotional pain is all pain in the body that has no known physical source, or pain that persists in spite of treatments to the body, such as chiropractic work or corrective surgeries. All chronic pain is emotional pain. And interestingly, even though the pain can have a physical source, most often it is still caused by emotional pain. So for example, when I was in college, I worked out, I ran, and I had a really bad bout of tendinitis. I really wanted to think that it was coming from, the activity I was doing. But the truth was, underneath that, in that time of my life, I was under an immense amount of emotional pain. Things happened in my romantic relationship, issues in my family at that time. It was very chronic. That was actually the source for my tendinitis. So please know, you can heal a physical disorder by dealing with it emotionally. So next, we're going to dive into Dr. John Sarno. Dr. John Sarno, who has passed, and his method called the Sarno method, which identifies repressed emotions and psychological stress as the cause of pain. And I'm addressing Dr. John Sarno today because many who come to us want to think that what we pioneer here, emotional medicine, and the Sarno method are similar. And today I'm going to be sharing why we're not, and why his method, the Sarno method, is not consistently effective. And we'll be talking about the Sarno method's limitations for chronic pain. Because many people come to us after having tried the Sarno method for their chronic pain. And what happens is they find it either didn't work at all, or it only worked temporarily and over time the pain came back. So the Sarno method, and this is from their website, believes that you need to identify and address the emotional triggers to alleviate an individual's pain. And they do this through a combination of education, self-reflection, and techniques like structured writing and meditation. Now, while Dr. John Sarno understood the problem, which he identified as repressed emotions and psychological stress, unfortunately, his solution is ineffective, and his treatment protocol, the Sarno method, is very hit or miss. This is because his treatment is dependent on the individual's abilities, their ability to have insight and first properly identify their emotional triggers that were the source of their pain, and also their natural ability to use his tools to resolve it. The Sarno method is only as effective as the individual. Instead of what we want is to be able to have a universal approach for all individuals who have chronic pain. So, for example, if someone using the Sarno method were to identify the wrong emotional trigger, well, at that point, the entire program would be ineffective. And because, too, it relies on an individual's ability to perform the treatments, we find here that the Sarno method only has about a 10% success rate for people to really resolve their chronic pain. And that 50% who use this method find a marked improvement. And then there's the 40% of people who have little to no success using the Sarno method for their chronic pain. Now, another problem with the Sarno method is the fact, and I love this one, is the fact that our human life, it's a series of emotional stress triggers that are constant throughout the human lifespan. And his method, the Sarno method, is dealing with one at a time, and also dealing with them after the fact that emotional stress trigger has already impacted us and already caused chronic pain. So with emotional medicine, which is what we pioneer here at A New Life Center, and with our healing program, we create a psychological shift in our students that changes how they perceive and understand the stressors of life as a whole. So that's how we can stay pain-free as we move forward into the inevitable future stressors of life. And this is why I am 10 years completely pain-free. This is also what makes emotional medicine different for the treatment of chronic pain compared to the Sarno method is that our program is not individualized. It works with everyone successfully, regardless of the emotional trigger. We don't even need to know here the emotional trigger in order for a person to permanently heal their chronic pain. Our program is universal for all chronic pain. So the solution to chronic pain is emotional medicine. The source of chronic pain is an individual's emotional state. And emotional medicine teaches that the emotional state is what causes chronic pain. And our emotional state is created by how we feel about ourselves. When we change how we feel about ourselves, the lens that we see the stressors of the world through also changes. And through this, we can permanently heal our chronic pain. Again, that's why we and only we have the power to heal ourselves. And this has been my experience and that of all the students also that I have worked with. We've worked with here for the last 20 years who have chronic pain. But I'll tell you, as I shared in the beginning of this video, I was seeing my chiropractor at least 3 times a week with my unlimited membership. And I've been seeing him for 14 years without success for my chronic pain. And I'm so happy to say that the moment I took this program was also the moment I divorced my chiropractor. And it's been over 10 years now, and I have not stepped foot in a chiropractic office since. I also have not needed adjusted or had any chronic pain since. And it's because I came here and I changed the lens that I see and perceive the world through. And I have a wonderful life now that is no longer full of suppressed emotional pain and chronic stress. And I want those out there to know that this pathway is there for you too. If you have chronic pain, you don't need to manage it anymore with functional and Western and alternative medicine and chiropractic work. You can permanently heal. And if you're out there and you want to permanently heal your chronic pain, we have a 13-week program. It's online, self-guided, and educational, meaning no supplements, no food diets or protocols or medication. And it's called the Chronic Illness Healing Program. And that is the program that permanently heals chronic pain. Now, if you're out there and have an autoimmune disease, also like I did, we also have a program that permanently heals autoimmune disease, and it's the only one of its kind as well. It's a 13-week online self-guided educational program that permanently heals autoimmune diseases by allowing the immune system to go back to its normal functioning. All right, and if you're not ready to take those steps, I also have a 101 course. It's free. The link's down below, check it out. But if your loved one is interested in our healing programs, I would love to meet with you. There is a link down below to schedule and apply for a complimentary consultation with me. All right, everyone, thank you so much. It's so great to come on today. I'm going to hop over to my channel before I sign off. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.